my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Well, camera number 2, welcome back to Krown's Kiddo Cave. Wishing you a very happy and peaceful and profitable start to your Sunday morning over here from a very fucking rainy Helsinki, Finland. It's been like stormy. It's not a storm. It's like it's whatever is bigger than a storm has been going on here like the last 24 hours. It's insane. I got absolutely soaked like a pleb yesterday. It was not so much fun. Anyways, we got a lot to talk about on Bitcoin. We got the lower time frames kind of working in our direction. We did hit that $10,000 target from yesterday, and that kind of brings us back into normality now as we head into the rest of Sunday, where the weekly is going to close and CME's open back on up, which is where the fun begins once again. And that is going to lead up into the likelihood of seeing some pretty, what I think is going to be some pretty volatile price action this coming week. Anyways, with all of that said, I want to wish you the best, and the happiest. Put a goddamn smile on your face because, well, why not? Why the fuck not, man? Anyways, let's go over and check out the live scene and bring you into the Krown Trading application. By the way, it can be found at app.krowntrading.net, and it's 100% free, so take advantage of it. Or don't, but it's quite rude to refuse a gift, so I will say that. Anyways, looking at this right here, Bitcoin dominance pretty much steady, as we've been saying. We are in an inflection point. We are in a major consolidation, and we are going to see likely the precipice, perhaps even a reversal on that. Looking at global open interest, we are still above that 1.3 billion marker. So very little's changed from yesterday to today. We still got a little bit of we still got a whole lot of funds kind of wound up and people in positions, and I believe that that's going to very likely line up with some fun activity this coming week. Anyways, keep your eyes on that because that will tie into the analysis as always, and starting to nail it down more so towards an actual date. Although I don't really think that you can truly do time analysis. I do believe that you can increase the likelihood of getting a move. That's what our volatility metrics are for. And by the way, that reminds me, we had a phenomenal fucking discussion in the program chat earlier this morning. Between myself and a few members. I won't name names in case if people don't want that or anything like that, but it was a really good chat, and it made me realize that perhaps I've not been relating my thoughts, or perhaps I haven't been clear enough with my thoughts on weekend price action as what I would hope to be. And what I mean in the past when I say that I don't trust weekend price action is that when I see a reversal on a weekend, and when I talk about a reversal, I mean a reversal across a major area that was defined during the trading week. So in this case, for the last week, we've been looking at the 95.50-ish level to the downside and the 10,300-ish level to the upside. If that level were to be breached or broken essentially over the weekend, I'm very skeptical about those moves, because in the past I've actually gone through all of the weekend data and I've looked for reversal points on the weekend and their degree of follow through, and it's actually extremely low. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 examples that I've found since December 2017, which makes it an incredibly low prospective rate, which is one of the reasons why I say that I do not trust weekend price action. Doesn't mean that you can't trade on the weekend, doesn't mean that you can't make shit tons of money on the weekend. Of course you can. You can also rest on the weekend and recuperate the precious mental space that we all need in order to survive a very brutal market like this. But hey, that's a personal preference thing, and I want to be very clear in stating that I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that you cannot make money on the weekend. Of course you can, and plenty of people are doing extremely well out there. And shout out to you, massive props to you. Just for myself, I typically look at the weekend as a time to rest, and usually very little is going on to begin with, anyways. As far as the macro picture goes, like the greater picture where those juicier trades do come from, typically do not see them get any sort of clout over the weekends. There has been a few examples in the past of continuation plays over the weekends, but I don't believe there is a reversal on a higher time frame on the weekend that has had follow through after that price point. Anyways, with all that said, let's get to the charts right now. So I don't know why I just went on a tirade right there, but it's on my mind's eye. And where's my moving averages? Hold on, found them. There they are. And Bitcoin back above the daily 21, getting that $10,000 price target that we spoke about yesterday. 99.50 it looks like on stamp, but I do believe that BitMexico got up a little bit higher. Actually, no. no, 99.60, but close enough is close enough. I do think that Bitcoin's probably going to tap that $10,000 region more or less. And right now we have a very easy way to be looking at this. The yellow 21 exponential moving average is governing our price action once again. And as long as Bitcoin's above it and as long as it has a positive slope, I am not short-term bearish. And I am looking for Bitcoin to likely give a test to our topside resistance. And that's where the next sort of battle is going to be fought. Where is the topside resistance, you might ask? Well, if we're looking at this as some sort of a descending channel, which I do believe it is, then that topside resistance would be about at 10,100. So I do believe that Bitcoin's probably going to set up for a test into that region in the coming days. Again, I'm not really too enamored with time analysis, but as far as this looks like right now, this would be the time to actually give a test towards that region. And just, at the end of the day, it's a game of blue boxes. We just tested the bottom side support blue box right around 9,550 to 9,600, and after that, we're going to go test our resistance, which at last point was this blue box over here, kind of in line with this ascending trend line. So the bulls are looking at this as some sort of a let's actually take these back off, as some sort of a falling channel, which typically gets resolved to the upside, and as we spoke about yesterday, does have an intended target somewhere around like 11,000. I think it was something like this. I'm doing a very crude way of doing this. It's somewhere up here, 10.8, 10.9 region, something like that. Again, I'm not doing this like super perfect, but something like this. You could also look at this as a bull flag, I suppose, which would increase that target quite a bit, probably to like 11,500 if I had to do it out. But the more conservative read on this would say at about 10.8, 10.9 region if we do clear above the topside resistance, which is declining right around. Well, if you use bodies, it's going to be declining right around about $10,050, and if we use wicks, it's going to be declining right about, I think, that 10,100-ish number. Yeah, 10,150 actually. So whichever one that you use, about the same thing. It would imply around the same target regardless of it. So that's what I'd be looking at, or sorry, if I want to be bullish, that's essentially the thing that I'd be playing right now. And that could be had two ways, either a daily little closure above this topside resistance at around, let's just cut it to the middle and call it 10.1, or just any sort of a daily little closure. And I feel a lot more comfortable with this above our last prior swing high right here at that $10,200 number. If that does happen, yes, I would target a move essentially towards $11,000 and probably continuation on top of that. It would be a pretty damn big deal and pretty damn welcomed by the Bulas out there. By the same token, we got the same thing for the downside. We have our nice weekly pivot coming in from our last weekly high at about that 9,550, 9,500-ish number, right around here, which has been our lower blue box territory that we've been referring to for the last few weeks. And as long as Bitcoin's above there, I'm still not macro bearish in any way, shape, or form. We can obviously come back down, test that blue box territory. That's all well and good, no problems there. But as long as Bitcoin doesn't break it, I'm not really like bearish as far as the greater picture goes. And this is exactly what I mean by weekend price action, because if Bitcoin were to break below this blue box territory right here over the weekend, I'd be very skeptical of that getting fall through during the real trading week. That's exactly what I mean by it, and I would challenge you to find an example in the past where Bitcoin has a reversal upon a major level that happens on a weekend that gets fall through during the regular trading week. If you can find that, I'd be happy to be proven wrong. I'm sure that there's a few examples, and I know that there's a couple examples out there. But since December 2017, when CMEs debuted, they are few and far between, and it is, in my opinion, an extremely poor source of edge and will not lead towards long-term gains if that is to be inquired. Doesn't mean that you can't play ranges on weekends. In fact, I'd say that ranges are the best thing to be doing on weekends, and it's in front of your fucking face. It's in front of your fucking face. We just came back down, tested the low side of the range, and then bounced back up. So that's what I'm referring to right there. Anyways, what are the bearers looking at? Well, the bearers are looking at this as a downtrend on the daily, and technically they are right. This is a downtrend as it is. We have our swing high right here, lower high right here, lower low, lower low. Boom, nice. We are down. But without getting fall through, it is nothing. And more importantly, what those bearers are not recognizing is that current low that we're operating off of is not just to be looked at on a daily. We need to really look at the higher time frames if we're going to judge the macro, if this is going to be a true reversal point. And I would say that the weekly is going to be the one to do for that. And what do you know? Where is the area that Bitcoin's rallied off of and failed to close below thus far? What? Fucking English. Fuck this language, man. Anyways, my point is that, this is our last prior swing high on a weekly, right? And when Bitcoin closed above it just a few weeks ago, that became our new major macro reversal point. As long as Bitcoin's above it, I'm not bearish. And if Bitcoin is, and Bitcoin coming back down to test this region in the blue box territory is just retesting that high, which is completely normal, completely natural, and typically going to be your nice bouncy bounce point. So the bears looking at this on a daily time frame are going to be tricked out. Perhaps they end up being right, but it's not going to be until the weekly destroys that region. And that is why, looking at the daily trend is not giving the full picture, because structure here is more important. The structure of this price action supersedes what's going on the daily dollar time frame, because the daily dollar time frame is not even that high of a time frame to begin with. The weekly and monthly are going to get the macro in this trading asset, and in the daily is going to be it's certainly tradable, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to tell those macro reversal points. So anyways, that 9550, 9600-ish point, so damn important, because until Bitcoin actually fully and formally closes below there on at the very least a 12-hour, preferably a daily or higher, I will not be bearish. And if that does happen, I'd be happy to flip around to bearish. We are traders here. Can't give a fuck about the asset, or can't fall in love with the direction of the asset. And if that were to happen, I'd be looking for moves back down to about 85, 8600-ish region. There's multiple ways of getting this. If we look at this from a moving average perspective, we're going to see the yellow 21 exponential moving average coming in right around that region, which the 10 simple, the red 10 simple is about to cross the upside. You do see over the longer period of history with Bitcoin on this trading asset that the 21 exponential moving average, again, the yellow moving average, has been a nice stop and reverse point when it comes to trend trading for over the long term. Whenever Bitcoin's in a long-term uptrend, it loves to play off of it. And whenever Bitcoin's in a downtrend, it also likes to sell off of it. But, just back test this one yourself, and you can see very, very simply that over the long period of time, it gets it more or less. And of course, when Bitcoin's now in an uptrend on the weekly, we would expect that would be a really, really great basing point for this price action, especially as the red 10 simple attempts to cross above it, which happens during periods of consolidation, especially in that direction. And of course, intuitively, you likely already know this, but the red 10 simple being a lower period than the 21 is going to tell us about the strength of trend in relationship to the short term. So a lower period getting above a higher period is telling us that trend is strengthening to the upside, and vice versa to the downside. And what do you know? We're probably going to cross them at the end of today, later at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Let's look at what's happened in the past between these two. We got an example right here when they crossed the upside during a period of consolidation, then boom, major green dildo party to the upside. Same thing to the downside right and over here, crosses, tests it, boom, down. It's not the best timing of it, but by the way. And then same thing right and over here to the upside, boom, crosses, tests it soon after that, and then massive move to the upside for a very long period of time. Anyways, my point is that that wick that we saw down to about 9,300 likely was that test. If you are going to be bullish, we really don't even want to see lower than that. For this. That's going to essentially constitute the test, and you can imagine that coming into this next week opening, that if Bitcoin were to, just close anywhere here or higher, essentially above 9,900 especially, we will see those two guys cross, and it'll actually be kind of pulled up into that wick as well. So we could even use the wick, the downside wick of this, as yet again another pivot for perhaps declaring a shift in a reversal in market direction. If we do trade below 9,300, then yes, I would be looking for about 85, 8,600 to be met, and probably a bounce there, and probably like a bounce along the way somewhere around like 9,200-ish region. Anyways, until that happens, or a daily total closure below 9,950, 9,600-ish region, again, a little bit, higher time frame is going to be a little bit better. 12-hour could probably work as well. Then yes, I wouldn't be looking at this as a reversal here. I'd be looking at this as actually likely continuation to the upside. Looking at momentum oscillators on the weekly, again, because it is closing later tonight, we see weekly Stokes very, very much erect, and very powerfully erect, painfully erect into this region, staying in the bullish control zone for the first time, really since when? Since fucking April of 2019, which was, by the way, this breakout right here. Very similar, by the way. You see the red 10 simple crossing to the upside of the yellow 21 on the weekly as the weekly Stokes get into the bullish control zone for the first time. We see the same thing right on over here, and that gives us another like few months of continuation, all the way from about 5,000 to 14,000. So more than a 2x in price action, almost a 3x in price action. Pretty fucking impressive. Not only that, but let's take this one step further. Let's go over here to the weekly RSI. We've been following this for a long time as well, and using the blue box blue box, get these red arrows out of my blue box. Don't Google that. It's Gonna be like blue waffles or some shit. Anyways, goddamn red arrows in my blue boxes. It's like only on fucking YouTube. Looking at this blue box, this is accurately gotten our bullish and bearish scenarios in the past, past 10 years of Bitcoin history. Anytime that we're above it, generally bullish. Anytime that we're below it, generally bearish. Bitcoin loves to base off it in its bull markets, as you can see during 2015 to 2018, and base off it in its bear markets, 2018 to 2019, essentially. Anyways, it's by no stretch of the imagination that we've confirmed above this blue box territory for the first time since since when? Since middle of September 2019. That was when Bitcoin essentially reversed from an uptrend into an official downtrend on the weekly, getting all this move from 10.3, which is where we got bearish, all the way down to about 6.5 region. Anyways, you can see that before then, and more so in relationship to what we just spoke about on the moving averages and weekly Stokes, you'll notice that at the same price point right here, on the weekly RSI, we see the exact same thing going on right here as we're seeing going on right now. You see the weekly RSI pop above the blue box territory for the first time in like a year and a half since January 2018, by the way, and then it tests it for a second, and then boom, major move up. We're essentially seeing the same thing right here. Bitcoin is, faltering a little bit, kind of coming down, consolidating a little bit, and essentially we can likely look at this as the next foray attempt at testing the blue box territory, while the exponential starts to work its way back up above that level as well. Same thing right on over here. My point is, a lot of these oscillators in a very, very similar positioning, very, very similar posturing, which tells you that we're very, very likely not, we're probably not bearish. Bitcoin's very unlikely to be bearish here. Anyways, stretching this out a little bit further, I do want to talk about the downside just in case, because as always, my opinion as a trader or the technical analysis edge sources that I'm using are all just a game of statistics. It can certainly work not in my favor. It's just I like them right now as still favoring the upside. We'll look at the expected moves chart in just a bit here, of course, as well. But more importantly, when we look at this, if things were to break to the downside, and we have very clear and well-defined delineated areas of failure, again, that 95-50-ish region to the downside, then we can see that just looking at this from a Fibonacci perspective, we do see the 0.5 Fibonacci showing right around about 8,500, which is essentially where I'd look for if Bitcoin does break down. Anywhere between the weekly 21 and that 0.5, very, very strong likelihood of a major bounce within this region at the very least, perhaps even a reversal as well. We'll have to get back to that one if and when it does happen. Like I said, right now, I'm not necessarily looking for it to happen, but it's always good to prepare. I believe that's also where the daily, where the daily 200 simple is coming in as well. A little bit above there, kind of creating a range between 8,800 and this 8,500 base right around here, which I think maybe is encompassed by the 200. Yes, the 200 exponential moving average right here. So we do have multiple things going on. Of course, we did get not just the golden cross between the simple moving averages right here, between the like puke shaded green and the white 200 simple. We did officially confirm a golden cross right here. However, the more important one, as far as I look at things, is the exponential moving average golden cross, which happened well over here, telling you well far in advance. Anyways, the crux of this information is that what we really want to see is we want to see them both operate on the same side, and that's what we do see. And we do see that the 200 exponential moving average would be coming in right around that 8,500-ish number. So if Bitcoin does break down, I would look for anywhere between the 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average, which is around the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement, which is also around our last consolidation, which if we zoom everything else out, is going to be around our major spike in volume profile in this region as well. As you can imagine, right around here. Yes, indeed, we do see a major volume node shown. And on top of that, if we want to just take it one step further, we can look at the Trollinger bands. And what do you know? The Trollinger bands, let's go to a weekly. The weekly Trollinger bands are showing that the 20 simple moving average, which by the way is yet again another great way of kind of basing off those bull market bullish dumps, essentially, going over the history of this, that the median of this is just a 20 simple moving average. That grayish line that you see there would be coming in where it's coming in right at 8450-ish region. So nice range right around about 8,500. And yes, I do believe that Bitcoin would see that level if it does break down. But I'm not looking for that to happen. I'm basically describing a whole scenario in massive depth, which I'm not really looking for to happen. But more importantly, looking at both the slope of the 20 simple and the 21 exponential moving average. Let's put these back on for a second here. I want to make this very clear. All right, cool. Yeah, we'll do it this way. Okay, so we got the 21 exponential and the 20 simple. Whenever price action is above both of these and they both have positive slope, well, again, price action has to be above both of them and have a positive slope on both of them. What were times in the history of Bitcoin where that's been true? Well, all throughout here. All throughout the end of 2015 to 2018, right here. They even cross the downside right here when the market cycle shifts around, funnily enough. They actually get the crosses pretty damn well. They actually get the crosses very, very well. When the 21 exponential moving average is below the 20 simple, we are bearish. When it's above, we are bullish, and the slopes of those take it one step further. Anyways, you can see that once again, the 21 exponential moving average is above the 20 simple. Price action is above both of them, and they both have positive slopes. Very, very good. That has been all of our long-term bull markets going all the way back. So yeah, just another thing to kind of be aware of. Anyways, let me take that off. Let me put these beautiful exponentials back on, get these disgusting simples out of my face, and I'm hungry as fuck for some steak. Really thinking about it right now, and we're already 20 minutes in the video, so I've even spoken about the upside yet, which is what I think is more likely. Well, we spoke a little bit about the beginning with the falling channel here. So yeah, so as long as Bitcoin essentially does not break below 9550, 9600, I am looking at this with Bula goggles right now, and it will be confirmed as a breakout to the upside, in my opinion, if we can just essentially close any sort of a 12-hour dildo, maybe even perhaps even a daily above 10,200, anywhere above there, and extend targets short term to 10.6 region right here. But realistically, I do believe our upwards area of about 10.9 to 11,000 would get tapped at that point. That area is relevant to the medium-term timeframes. We do see a nice consolidation and many rejections coming in back from our August and September consolidation right here. Lots of spikes into this region. But as far as the macro goes, even that area is actually not all that relevant. The most relevant area is this blue box territory right here, in line with the same areas that we've been getting rejected from, or Bitcoin's been getting rejected from ever since when? Ever since, well, 2018, coming back all the way here from February 2018. Double top reversal at 12,000 two times. Then we had this guy right here more recently in June, July, then again in August, and then, well, we've yet to return to it ever since. That's at the 11,500-ish region. Keep in mind that this area is a massive area of what I like to refer to as institutional order flow. There's a major video on this in the TA program. So if you are in the TA program, definitely go reference that. By the way, I'm actually in the midst of creating a whole new program right now for like complete beginners, and it's talking about these situations is like it's so crazy. I'm getting off track here again, but it's so fucking crazy because I realized that like relating how to define a trend is not that easy. It's actually really not that easy, you know, because you get, I mean, like obviously anyone can like define if something's, you know, up or down, but how do you define like a swing high and a swing low? How do you know what continuation is? How do you know what follow through is? How do you know what a failure is? There's a lot of that. So anyways, this area, an area of massive failure, a massive institutional order flow as short orders getting gathered in this region for literally the last couple of years plus. Anyways, my point is that this is also marked off by the fact that we have a massive change in behavior here, as indicated by the volume profile absolutely thinning out above this level. So this is all tying in with each other. And not only that, but to take it one step further, and perhaps even the most important thing here, is the fact that CMEs, which I do still believe is the most clear chart, has a clear inverted head and shoulders with volume increasing on the right hand side as we break to the upside with a measured move, a target all the way up to about 11,500 to 12,000. Guess what? That's also where the CME gap, or the last CME gap that we've traded, is present as well at about 11,800, but there is going to be a premium on CMEs around that price point anyways. Keep in mind that CMEs did close the week at 97.10, so it is likely that we do come back down to test the bottom side of our current range, but I don't necessarily think that incites that we're going to have I don't think that necessarily incites that we're going to have a fake out to the downside just yet. Again, price levels are more important at this point. So I just want to show the upside and the downside. I think we've gotten both those pretty damn well. And the pivot points to the upside, we didn't even talk about the pivot points to the downside. We talked about 8,500, of course. Before 8,500 would be 9,200-ish, I suppose. to the upside pivot points, 10.2, that's what opens up the doors. Then 10.6, we'll call it, is the next area that I look for a short-term pullback. Then 10.9 to 11,000, probably another short-term pullback right there. And then the big bad one that's been holding this bitch back for the last 2 years. So that's the way that I see it right now, and that is what I think is really, really interesting. Anyways, let's go down into now let's go down to the lower term time frames, and let's get off the volume profile because it's really convoluting this whole screen, and let's define the areas that we've been looking at. Okay, so remember, yesterday I do believe that the target to 10,000 was initiated once we did close above that 97.30-ish hump right here. So what, like a $250, $270 play, which is very tradable over the weekend. Very, very nice as Bitcoin just fills out the range, which is essentially what we're talking about. And what happens now? Well, what happens now? So we have a very clear range here for the lower term timeframes. Again, critical areas, once again, below 95.50 and above 10,000, about 200-ish region right here on higher timeframes. And on the lower term timeframes, I'm going to get rid of this one right here. We do have the more preliminary range now being shown right between about 98 and 10,000. Those don't do all that much for the greater picture, of course, but what they do is they fucking stupid. What they do is they give us points to kind of reference off of for the medium term time frame ranges, which is going to define that next sort of move that we're looking for to whichever one of these next blue boxes that we test next. So for example, if we take out 10,000 first, I'll be looking for that next move to come and test 10,200-ish region. So another $200 play to the upside. Very, very nice. Again, doesn't imply that we're going to break it, but puts it in a lot better of a positioning, of course. And by the same token, if we break 98.20 to the downside, I would look for a move all the way back down to about 96 region, and we'll play off this blue box once again. And if that were to happen, well, now we really have the conversation of a lot of lower highs in place and technically some lower lows as well in the lower time frames, which can certainly evolve into a higher time frame reversal as well. But we'll get to that if it actually does happen. Now let's go line this up with the expected moves chart and see what it's showing at the current moment in time. Okay, very interesting here. Very, 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 very interesting here. And I don't mean to sound arrogant when I say this, but this is exactly what we were looking for over the past week. This is a daily. So this is going to get actually just 24 hours of price action from now. It's not, this is actually past the weekly close, but the weekly close has a less than 16% chance to close below even 96.50. That's a clean $100 above that critical point of about 95.50-ish region on a higher time frame. So is it likely that we're going to break to the downside in this next 24 hours of period? No, it's not. Well, it's less than 16% chance, or sorry, it's even less than a 16% chance, because again, that's about $100 higher than that failure point. So it's probably somewhere more around like 10-ish if we had to guess, because the second standard deviation is going to be less than 2.5% chance. So somewhere in the middle between these, like that's 16, that's 2, so 8-ish maybe here. Just doing a bad mental math. By the same token, 10,200 to the upside is the top side of the first deviation. That's actually quite likely to happen. Now, it's very unlikely that we do close above it today. Less than 16% chance that we close above it today. However, to even just test it would be a win for the bulls. So I do think that it's more likely that Bitcoin is going to essentially test the top side. This blue box territory right here, 10,200, does not imply a break to the upside just yet, but does imply that it's more healthy. It's going to look a lot more healthy. And more importantly, correlating with that with this weekly close that's going to be happening at 7 p.m. Eastern time, it's going to start to look really fucking good if Bitcoin closes above there. I will say that. Anyways, going back into it right here. It would be within about 30% likelihood that we close even like above 10,000. So that looks pretty damn good to me, and sets the stage for this coming week, which I do think is going to be the week of moving probably towards the end of the week. Anyways, going down to the 12-hour, which I think works incredibly well with this tool as well. We do see that the 12-hour is showing the second standard deviation is coming in right around that 9,500-ish number. Of course, a little bit lower than the point of failure, but now we can come up with the probability of actually breaking it around the weekly dildo close, which is going to be less than 2.5%. I think it's very unlikely, and I still kind of stick with my, at the very least, like bullish bias until we flip around the script tangibly. I will not change around my bias. Doesn't mean that I can't change it around, of course. If things happen, absolutely. But we have very clear and defined areas of changing where I am more than happy to change, and until then, I will not change. I will not change. Like, what the fuck, man? It sounds so ridiculous. Anyways, top side of the first deviation on this 12-hour dildo, again, correlating around the weekly dildo close, going to be at 10,130. So that's going to be right at the bottom end of this blue box territory. So do I think that we're going to test that area? Yeah, I do think so. Or over the next few days, probably, I'd probably be looking for a test of that area somewhere in this venue right here. And any sort of a close above 10,200 on like a 12-hour or above, I extend those targets immediately to about 10.6-ish region, and then probably a nice short-term pullback from there, and then continuation to the $11,000 mark. I'm liking all that I see right there. Other than that, what else do we want to look at? We can go quickly look at the Bitcoin VWAP ratio. There's really nothing new to report here. It's still in the full bullish spline, but contracting a bit. So not really giving us too much. What we really want to see is we want to see a higher high now going over the future. We want to see a higher high on at least one of these different averages on the VWAP ratio. If the blue can print a higher high above its current one, that's going to likely come along the side of a test into the $11,000 region, I'd imagine. Longer term looks really, really good. Shorter term, contraction right now, so can't really make too much off it unless if it actually flips back around. So sorry, let's actually just find that a little bit more. I do think that it is a little bit unlikely that Bitcoin does reverse here as well to the downside. The reason being, and for the full explanation of how these guys interact with each other, definitely go check out the last few videos uploaded in the long-term playlist because I don't want to repeat it again, and I think I've done it enough where people probably already know. And if you're new here, I'll just direct you to those prior videos, and they're there for you to view at any moment in time that you desire. Looking at this right here, the purple and the pink, which have been enough to drive macro cycles in their relationship in the past together, just with those two, not even the blue, are obviously well and far away from each other, and they're above the regression line that I'm pointing to right now with my cursor, meaning that first off, I'd need to see both of them get below this regression line if I were to call a reversal. And that has accurately gotten most reversals in the past. And then I want to see the purple cross the downside of the pink. It being a more reactive read is going to denote that we're actually heading into, once again, a bear market, like long term. And as you can see right now, they're nowhere near each other. Well, not that near each other in relation to what we've seen in the past. So my point is that if Bitcoin even is going to switch up the market cycle right here, it's probably going to take a while. It would take a while. It's not going to happen like today or tomorrow. It would take a week or two. Anyway, speaking of weeks and speaking of of all that, we do see historical volatility percentile is very low on the lower term time frame. So we are gearing up for a move here. Likely have enough juice to kind of fill out the range again. And I do think that that's going to come alongside a test of 10,000, in the short term, and then probably over the next few days, a test up here. I do think that Bitcoin has the momentum to do it. As far as RSI reads go and our momentum oscillators, not really seeing anything of particular interest. No divergences to be spoken of just yet, although it will be creating some on the hourly, not even on the 2-hour or 4-hour, of course. The 4-hour actually looks okay. Momentum oscillators are going to get a little bit toppy here. Got 4-hour, 3-hour, 2-hour, and hourly, all kind of getting way up there, which is fine. So I don't think that Bitcoin's going to be breaking any topside resistances today. I do think that it could perhaps test into the 10,000s, but I don't think that's going to be breaking them today. Momentum's kind of spent, and I do think that it's probably gonna if we do have a break, it probably comes a little bit later this week, sometime around like 26, 27, 28. Going over to our medium term time frames, our 12-hour, we are in a phase of contraction, so we're still kind of consolidating here. 12-hour RSI looking good. 12-hour RSI back above the exponential, bouncing and rejecting the bearish control zone. I really like that. This looks more or less healthy to me. And we do see that 12-hour Stoics have once again crossed the upside, which I hate to admit it, but it fucking works. Just that alone, it's like good enough. And back above all major movement as well makes it very difficult for me to get bearish. Let's see. Daily, same thing. Little bit less so. Other than that, what about a 2-day and 3-day? 2-day. The 2-day reveals all. The 2-day reveals all, motherfucker. Sorry to all of the fatherfuckers out there. I apologize. I mean to include you in that as well. Anyways, we do have not only a a local low confirmed here, but it is now a higher low in relation to our last low. So now we have still have the building blocks or the continuation building blocks of a continuing uptrend with our last prior high right here. And not only that, but we do have hidden bullish divergence in play as well. RSI is making a significantly lower low between this point correlating with the last local low and this point right here correlating with the local low that we just put in. And that leads me to believe that we are likely to see a move up to about 10,200-ish region and test the prior high and play out that hidden bearish, not hidden bearish divergence, hidden bullish divergence. Jesus Christ, bad slip of the tongue there. Hidden bullish divergence is what I mean to say. And that's going to likely come along the side of 2-day RSI getting back in the bullish control zone. And if that does happen, I'd be looking for a move back up to about 10,150, 10,200, fill at the top side of the range, which puts us at that critical point. Here's the thing though. While I did speak about kind of ways to gauge the next move to the upside for like the actual break above 10,200 on like a 12-hour or higher time frame closure, if we even just ticked above the high of 10,300, this doji-ish dildo right here, I would look for that continuation to about 10.6 and then 11,000 down the road. And of course, looking at 2-day historical volatility percentile, what are we looking at right here? Very fucking low. And this is why I do think that a big, massive move of 20% or more is probably coming. Now, I did the calculations yesterday. We went through all of the other reads where in history, Bitcoin has been this low on 2-day historical volatility percentile. I won't go through them again today, but what I want to say is very, very quickly, because this video is already like 35 minutes long, which is just insane. It's just, what the fuck? It's just crazy, man. But longer term, all of these low reads that we've seen on, single digits or lower have precipitated big, massive moves like this one right here to the downside, this one right here to the downside as well, $1,500 move, $2,000 move to the upside right here, $2,000 move to the downside right here. You get the idea, usually about at the very least 20%, and it usually happens within 2 weeks or less. So as of right now, we have been very, very low ever since the 16th of February. So that gives us about a week in this, and we're coming up on 2 weeks at the end of this coming week. So I do think that we get this week, or sorry, we likely get continuation by the end of this week, whether it be to the upside or the downside. It's going to be a 20% move plus or more. If it comes to the upside from our last low, that would put us about around where? Oh man, 11,500. And if it comes to the downside on a reversal, on a bearish reversal, where does it put us at? Holy fucking moly. Oh, sorry, I got to take it from the last high. But it put us down around that 8,500-ish number. So what I'm saying is that I expect Bitcoin to probably be either somewhere right around expectations, like the worst fucking word for a trader to use, but I would strongly believe that Bitcoin is going to be somewhere around 11,500 or somewhere around 8,500 within the next like 2 weeks to a month. Very likely we see that move play out. And right now, I do think that this likely comes to the upside. Anyways, that pretty much does it for Bitcoin. We can go check out the matrix chart. A lot of people have been asking for this recently. I'm curious if I have it saved. Yeah, I do have it saved. Okay, great. Cool. As far as the matrix chart goes, the reason why I haven't been showing it is because we're actually like nowhere near to any of the relevant points on it. So it doesn't really help, but it would suggest that our top side resistance for this market cycle is currently at about $14,000, but I don't know how much I trust this. I feel like it's not good enough for me to make real decisions off of. It's more so like for fun. I think there's more tangible things in lower time frames. However, it is interesting to ponder over, and if it is anything to go off of, then what we would be saying is that this topside resistance here is going to likely be the governing factor of our next market cycle. Now, where does that come in around? Well, it goes higher and higher with each and every passing day, technically speaking. But right now it'd be right around our $14,000 prior highs, and just in about a year from now, to give an idea of how high it can go, it'd actually be right around $30,000 in January 2021. So it does rise up quite rapidly. Anyways, to explain it very, very briefly, I won't go through the full explanation of this again, but the dotted trend lines refer to support trend lines for all the parabolic market cycles in Bitcoin's history, starting up with the first one in 2010 and 2011. That gets broken in 2012 on this major down, and that becomes the next highs of our next market cycle in 2013 and 2014. Then we get the next parabolic market cycle anchored in 2011 and 2012. 2012 right here. That gets broken in 2015 right here. And that trend line becomes the parabolic highs of our next market cycle in 2016 to 2018 right here, topping it out right there. Then we create another support trend line for the next parabolic market cycle anchored in 2015 and 2016 right here. That gets broken in 2018, and we actually do trade above it last year. So perhaps it could have been a signal that rally was destined to fail, or at least destined to have a major reversal on top of it, because we got back above that trend line, which has actually never happened before after the macro support trend line has been broken in Bitcoin's history. As you can see, the last couple ones, any sort of price action above that was a sell, and this one, certainly was a sell as well in hindsight. But we stayed above that for months. So to me, there's multiple ways of interpreting this. I don't think anything's all that tangible. So again, take this with a grain of salt. This is not my main disposition on Bitcoin. I've much more tangible things that we spoke about earlier. But if Bitcoin were to pop back up and test this trend line, I'd look for it to act as a governing factor going onwards and forwards. And like I said, at the current moment in time, the high is around 14,000. At the end of this year, beginning of 2021, that high would be as high as about 30,000. It's not saying that we're going to go to 30,000. It's saying that if we got, if Bitcoin really started to catch a bid, I wouldn't expect anything more than 30,000 by that date. And let's just expand it one more year to 2020, just to show, how high this thing actually gets. That's when it starts to get into like the 70,000. So, could potentially create a range there, I suppose. Anyways, that's fun. That's fun. It's like, all right. But my point is that, a lot of people have been asked for that. And my point is that the reason why I haven't been showing it is just we're not really anywhere near it. And I don't really know what to make of it as of right now. And I do think that we could also just as easily say that we have a new trend line forming between this area right here as our support trend line. So perhaps this is our new support trend line to be forming, and it's coming in right around about 8,500 at current trajectory. So hopefully Bitcoin doesn't break below there, because then I don't know what narrative I'm going to have if I keep on using this. Anyways, fair enough. Let's go check out the other top market leaders, Mr. Buterol being one of them, having a nice move here. I do believe that it is on target to hit its last prior high, somewhere right around about 283-ish region, and looks to me like it's still kind of holding this ascending triangle, especially on the 12-hour. I am more or less bullish on this with a bullish bias, as long as it is above $260 now. And I do think that short term it's probably going to make a run towards 280 plus. Now, if it breaks above 280 and closes above like 284 on a 12-hour, or even like a 4-hour above 284, 285, I would look for this blue box over here to get tested at around, oh man, you can't even see it, can you? It's too high, right around 310 to 315. So Mr. Buterol, of course, being the most healthy still. Now, if Mr. Buterol does break below 260 on like a 4-hour total closure, I would look for price action all the way back down to the prior low, 250 and below. Litecoin, what's Litecoin doing? Litecoin making a very nice move to the upside here, and actually, whoa, big fucking deal, because Litecoin has led in the past. Look at this. Litecoin is trading above its prior high right here, that $78.50 marker. So what is Litecoin telling us? It's telling, especially if it closes here in the next couple hours, I think it is, perhaps we do see Bitcoin follow through and close above this price point, giving us a higher high as well. That's very, very interesting. Now for Litecoin getting the next upside breakout towards a prior high of 83 and a quarter, I wouldn't really call that until we actually like fully and formally close above the bottom part of this 12-hour, the bottom part of this blue box, which is 78 and a half, which we're above right now. It's going to have a chance in about 2 hours to do that. So very, very likely it actually does do that. Then I look for extension to the prior high right around $83 and probably breaks the upside after that. Golden cross is already there. Looks very, very nice. Stellar. What's Stellar doing? Stellar's probably going to follow the rest of the market, probably moving back up to 7.5 cents. Not bad. What about Monero? Monero, same thing. Maybe a little bit more up to like 84.5. Not looking as strong as the other ones. Ripple, same thing, not looking as strong as the other ones, but probably does have some more upside here to like 30 cents. However, if it can close above 30 cents, that would make the weekly look very, very good. Anywhere above 30 cents on a weekly total closure, and I'd probably be looking for this to have continuation over the next month or two to 40 and 50 cents respectively. That would be a change of behavior. We actually finally have a higher high above this last major breakdown on a weekly closing basis, which would be a reversal, and I do believe that would get a massive fall through. Actually much further than that, to be fair. Let's actually, can we do a little bit more of a deep dive here? No, not necessarily. But again, weekly closure above 30 cents, very, very good. If it's above 31.5 cents, extra good. And I'd look for next month to probably tag at like 45, 50 cents. EOS, what's EOS doing? Whoa, this one really got hammered on that last down. Kind of the same thing, you can see the similarities between all these different charts. Probably going to pop back up into this region and test that $4.50, $4.60 high. Neo, what are we doing here? Same thing here. Probably going to test that last prior high as well, 15.25. Tron Cash, same thing, all the way up to 2.25. B Cash, it's B Cash even. Which one even is the real B Cash anymore? It's the real question. Probably test this last price swing at about 420-ish region. And I think that gets pretty much everything. Quickly look at Link, see how he's doing for the day. And Link is a little bit in limbo here. I am skeptical on Link actually. Link lost its ascending triangle, but could it be actually just a little bit of a fake out over the weekend? And what we really should be doing is decreasing the slope and looking at it more like this. I think that would be relevant. And you know what? This is what I mean by looking at reversals on the weekend. If I'm looking at this, coming into yesterday, I was looking at this as a reversal because we actually did break below this increasing trend line right here. Completely fine. But because it happened over a weekend, I'm skeptical of it, and I'd be more inclined to say that, you know what, this is actually right in line with the 21. This is not like dangerous price action or anything like that. The weekly 12-hour RSI is just coming down to test the neutral zone and bouncing right now. That's actually fine as well. It's pretty normal, and it's just cooling off. And 12-hour Stochs have come down all this way, but price action has not even really been all that much damage. It's still kind of holding a range, and more importantly, we are meeting this trend line as well, coming in all the way back from early January, which was literally this last major low at about 24,000 Satoshis. So to me, I'm more inclined to think that that's actually, we did not see a legitimate break to the downside. And what we're seeing here is we're actually just seeing, this ascending triangle kind of like evolve and morph a little bit because we didn't have enough price action, or we didn't have enough things to go off of before. See what the weekly looks like just really, really quick. Weekly does look a little bit interesting, but fair enough. Still okay. Still okay. I would still be looking for downside on this one if and only if you see a full-on closure below the 21, which we have yet to get. Yesterday did close below, but we need to see both in an open and close below. So if this next one closed below, then yeah, I would target a move down here towards about 40,000 Satoshis. But I think I'm going to be wrong about that call yesterday. In fact, I'm pretty damn confident I'll be wrong about that call yesterday. This one's going to pop back up into like the 47,000 Satoshi region right here. I feel more strongly about that right now. And I think that's about it. So let's go back on a Bitcoin, wrap this bitch up. I'm hungry as fuck and ready to destroy all sorts of stakes. And Bitcoin looked at me like he wants to take another tag up, probably 10,000 even for a nice official test. But I do think that 10,150 to 10,200 is in the cards. I do think that it's going to test that region in line with our probabilities chart. The question is, can we close above there today? If we close above there today, I extend those targets to 10.6 and then 11,000. Short-term pullbacks from those regions, of course, before the next leg. And we'll obviously want to see it in real time as well. And for the short term, I would look for a quick pullback off the 10.1 to 10.200-ish level right here. But for the very short term, I will be wrong about this, and we will come back down to about 9,600, the lower blue box right here, if Bitcoin does lose the 98.20-ish support on a lower term time frame. So if I am trading the lower term time frames, any sort of a 2-hour total closure below about 98.20, and I'm looking for a move back down to 9,600, that is going to be where CME's closed on Friday. So there is going to be a gap around that price action. So perhaps, yes, it is actually maybe a little bit likely that we do test around that region again, but I don't think it's going to break. And of course, until I wouldn't declare anything a break on the downside until we actually close like a 12-hour or higher below 95.50, and I wouldn't declare anything a break to the upside until we close like a 12-hour or higher above 10.2, or even just get a trading wick above 10.331 on Mexico. Anyways, that's going to do it for today. I want to wish you well. I might be on Twitch later. I'm not sure yet. I'm really deep and down and dirty into creating this new program. I'm so fucking excited about it. I put so much fucking effort into it, and I'm really, really excited to share it with everyone. I'm gonna obviously upload it to the TA program as well, the relevant portions. And with all that said, wishing you well once again from a very gloomy Helsinki, Finland. Take care, and until next time.